morning, guys. Today I am making some really delicious organic granola for my big Salesforce meeting tomorrow. I'm trying to get funding for 20 Dreams for 2015, and I figure the way to anyone's heart is through their stomach. And so here it is. This is where it's all going to happen, and let's hope it works. Take one. So the name of this recipe is called mixed berry granola. That's my name for it. So the thing is, I can't eat many things. I have a lot of food intolerances. Well, this recipe uses buckwheat, which I can eat, and it's so delicious and so amazing. I also, because I can't have oats, decided to use quinoa flakes, which are right here. And quinoa is a complete protein, so if you eat this, you don't need meat, you don't need eggs, fish, whatever. You can just have this, and quinoa, you can find it in all sorts of salads these days. Just every place is using it because they see the health benefits of it. So, I'll explain some of the products we have here. Today we have our buckwheat flakes and our quinoa flakes. We have sunflower seeds, almonds, we have some cinnamon, we have some fresh nutmeg, and then we have a mixture of dried berries, and we have some almond butter, honey, vanilla, maple syrup, all the really delicious things that you want for breakfast. Everything just gets basically mixed into a bowl, and then all the wet ingredients get mixed with the dry ingredients, and then you bake it for about 15 minutes, and presto, it's done. So we're going to open the packages. So we're going to take 2 cups of our buckwheat flakes. Doesn't matter if some of it spills out on the counter. That's 2 cups there. Alright. And then 1 cup of our quinoa flakes. There you go. We're going to put half a cup of our almonds in with the buckwheat and the quinoa. It doesn't have to be totally perfect. If by mistake you put in a little bit too much of something, don't worry about it. It's still going to taste amazing. The recipe calls for chia and hemp seeds, but I decided not to put those things in. I decided to use the almonds and the sunflower seeds. You can see a lot of these ingredients are organic. You don't have to use organic ingredients. I like to use organic for at least half of the foods that I eat, just because I know that it hasn't been tainted with chemicals, hopefully, and I just know what has gone into the food that I'm eating, and I just feel better about it. Now it's time to add our cinnamon. I adore cinnamon, and it's so good for you. So we're going to put 1. That's half a teaspoon, and that is 1 teaspoon. Here I also have some fresh nutmeg. If you have already grated nutmeg, it's totally fine. So we have our nutmeg nut, and we're going to do about a 1/4 teaspoon. I don't really measure, I just decide when it's enough. Watch your fingers when you're grating. You don't want, the recipes don't call for skin. So, and you can smell, it's like super, super amazing smell. You don't want to put too much nutmeg into your recipes because it can actually be poisonous at some point, but we don't want to dwell on that. Okay, so now we're going to mix all the dry ingredients together. Just a little bit. And make sure our cinnamon is mixed through properly, and the nutmeg. Okay, that is good. Okay. So now we're going to put our wet ingredients inside of a saucepan, warm it up, and then we're going to mix it with our dry ingredients, and then we throw it in the oven. One trick that will make life so much easier is right before you put something that will stick, like peanut butter, almond butter, inside of your measuring cup, you can just put a little bit of oil and mix it just coat your measuring cup. And so then when you put your almond butter, okay, that's 1/4 cup, and you put it inside your saucepan, it's going to come out much easier. See, that's basically everything. So we're gonna get rid of that. So you remember the trick that we used before to coat our measuring spoon with some oil? You can use Pam, you can use whatever, basically has grease in it. Now we're gonna put it calls for 1/2 cup of maple syrup, but I like to use a bit of maple syrup and honey, because I love honey too. Can't leave out the honey. And so here's our honey. I love to use Greek honey, I love the taste of it. Alright, and see, now when we pour our honey into the pot, look how easily it comes out. There ain't nothing left in there. I happen to have an intolerance to coconut oil, so I'm going to use grapeseed oil. Next best thing. So 1/3 cup. I think that's enough, and we also put a bit of oil into the measuring cups. So, which was not a lot, but it all adds up, right? Our burner is already warming up. 1, 2, we can add a little bit more for good luck because it's extract, and extract is not as strong as pure vanilla. So we added a bit more. And last but not least is our sea salt. And it calls for 1/4 teaspoon. Okay, so that's 1/4 teaspoon. All right, so now we're going to warm that up. Not on a high heat. We're gonna wait until this warms up. I have it on at number 4. You know, whatever's good as a medium or low heat on your stove is good for you. That's what you do. Oh my God, it smells so good. I wish you were here. While this is heating up, I just want to talk to you a little bit about food intolerances. I think a lot of us have food intolerances, and some people don't have any idea what they are allergic to or intolerant to. And I just decided years ago to just do all the research and figure out what was hurting my stomach, and then I tried to find alternatives like the buckwheat, like the quinoa, that whenever I would eat it, I would feel much better. I used to eat oatmeal, and then I looked like 4 months pregnant, and I said, okay. Process of elimination, and I just started taking things out of my diet, and then when I figured out what hurt me and what didn't, then I just brought everything that I love back into my diet, and it was just such an eye-opening experience. And who wants to feel bad? Like, I love eating food. I love food. I'm a chef. I've been a chef for over 22 years. It's horrible to eat food and then feel bad after. So this way, you know, I know exactly what's going into the food I'm making, and it's just, I put my love, my passion into my food, and what could be better, right? So our sweet, sticky, delicious sauce, turn off the stove, don't burn the house down. This is ready. It smells like chocolate chip cookies, basically. So I'm just trying to get out some of the lumps, because there's still some lumps from the almond butter. I'm just going to whisk this a little bit so that we get the lumps out. You want everything to be nice and even and coated properly. Although a nice little lump of almond butter with your almonds and your granola would not be the end of the world, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to taste it and see if it needs a little bit more salt or a little bit more vanilla, because you can follow a recipe, but it's always nice to, sometimes you may still just want to add something. Perfect! And we're pouring our mixture over the granola. And get every part of that loveliness into this bowl. Alright. I used to love watching these cooking shows and see the chefs putting all the dishes like to the side or under the counter after, and I used to wonder who would wash the dishes. Well, today, I know that's me. Okay. See, I'm mixing this with the spatula and I'm like, I just want to take my hands and mix it with my hands, but we can't do that because we're giving it to Salesforce tomorrow and there's a line to be drawn. It's very gooey and sticky, and so it's gonna take a little bit more manpower. So here's my spoon and my spatula. And 3 years later, she's still mixing the granola. Okay, we're almost there. Nobody fall asleep. Get back from the bathroom. The granola's about to go on the baking sheet. I think we have liftoff. Okay. So, everything's mixed through. Hallelujah. We're going to take our Silpat lined baking sheets. If you don't have Silpat liners, you can just use parchment paper. I didn't have parchment paper, and luckily I had these from when I had my catering company. So we're going to spread this on the baking sheet. It would be wise if you make sure it's like one even layer. If it's too high, if it's too thick the layer, it's not going to bake evenly, and then the top is going to get golden and the brown is still going to be white. It's not going to be nice and toasted. So we'll see. We have our first sheet, and then we're going to take our second one, and I think this is going to be perfect. Okay, spread this out. And if you see, like if there's some little clumps that, like this little clump, that's good because when it bakes as like a little clump, it's going to be nice and like these big crunchy bits of granola. Okay, so we have our second layer. That's it. So we're going to take our baking sheets. Our oven is preheated at 350. And in we go. And now we're going to put on our timer. It says 15 minutes, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it for 10 minutes because my oven is much stronger than most conventional ovens. And we'll wait. For our recipe, we need 3/4 cup of dried berries. Now the recipe says dried blueberries. I'm putting dried cranberries, blueberries, and cherries inside. Super delicious. And it says in our recipe to actually bake this in the oven with everything, but I've made that mistake before. Maybe I once made the mistake of baking my berries, my dried berries, with the granola and they burned. So I've decided to add this at the end when everything has cooled down. And this is also, like I said, you could bake your chocolate chips with the granola and it's gonna like melt and just meld in with the granola and be super amazing because anything with chocolate is like the best. So we've heard our timer and it smells amazing. So I'm going to take both baking sheets out and I'm going to smush it around with my spatula and my spoon so that everything browns nice and evenly. Really quick. You want it to keep the heat that it already has. And you can hum while you see the edges. If you like get a close-up, you can see the edges that are already really dark. Try to get those now in the middle so that it doesn't get any darker. But we know that doesn't have much longer to bake. Now it should bake about, I added about 4 more minutes to the timer because when I first looked at it, it wasn't browning enough. So now we're supposed to add about 8 minutes, but I would say another 4 minutes. We'll try half of that. And also what I'm going to do is, this baking sheet was on the bottom. I'm going to now put this one on the top and turn it around for even baking. And there's granola flying all over the kitchen, but it's fine, it doesn't matter, as long as it tastes good. Okay, so timer, 4 minutes, start, and hope for the best. All right, so our timer has gone off for the last time, and our granola looks amazing, nice and golden brown. It's a good thing we switched the levels with the baking sheets. Our second tray needs to bake just a bit longer because it's not as nice and golden brown as this one is. But so this one is finished, and you can see that it's all even. So we will let this cool down over here. So our first tray has been sitting for a little while, and when you first take it out, like, you can't really hear. This is still soft because it's just come out of the oven. But see this? It sounds like, I don't know, it sounds like little rocks. You're mixing around little rocks together. It's because it's nice and crunchy now. So we're gonna take this tray, we're gonna put it in our huge bowl. Not into having any more problems mixing stuff around freely. Okay, it's starting to cool down. So we're going to loosen up our mixed berries a little bit. You can use apricots, you can use dried banana, dried apple, dried mango. Dried mango is so good, but I couldn't find any. And so we're going to mix in our dried berries. And I've already tasted the granola. It's not sweet at all, even though it has the maple syrup and the honey. It's like just perfect. And so I can't wait any longer. It's actually good to mix everything mix the berries with the granola while it's still warm, because it's going to absorb the oils from the dried fruit. And just mix that around. It's ready. It's like, it took a while, but I mean, it's super easy. And once you make this, you can keep it for a long time, as long as you keep it in a tightly sealed jar or Ziploc bag or a plastic container. That's it. So let's taste this again with the berries. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And I'm not going to be carrying any babies because it's agreeing with my stomach. So there you have it. And after, we're going to put this in the little cute bags to take to Salesforce. And of course, I'm going to leave some at home for myself because I can't wait to have breakfast tomorrow morning. All right, well, thanks for watching. And next week, we'll do something amazing. All right, take care.